Oregon State is going to be taking on Oregon. Now, Oregon State, what we got going on for Oregon State? Oregon State, this is a Pac-12 championship bid on the line. That's what not necessarily, not for Oregon State though. Oregon State is out of that title picture. Because of that, gruesome loss to the Washington Huskies. That's just the unfortunate part. And they also lost to Washington State and Arizona earlier too. Oregon, however, they're still in the hunt for the Pac-12 championship. They're still also, for all intents and purposes, control their own destiny to get into the college football playoff as well. This is also the last time that we might see these two teams play up against each other in the near future. As you may know, Oregon is going to leave for the Big Ten. And as of right now, this is a game that they have not yet struck a deal between these two teams. They are working on it. They're trying to keep this rivalry alive. But Oregon's going to the Big Ten after this year. So the future of this rivalry game is in serious doubt. And it's a little bittersweet because the Pac-12, and I'm not even from the West Coast. I'm an East Coast guy, Midwesterner at heart. It's been really fun to watch the Pac-12 this year. It's been, in my opinion, the most exciting conference to watch all season long. But unfortunately, all good things come to an end. However, for now, let's go jump into the game on the field. This is going to be a Friday night kickoff game happening the day after Thanksgiving. It's going to be kicking off at 8:30 Eastern. That's when Oregon State and Oregon are going to go up against each other. We've already seen Washington control their way into the Pac-12 championship. So this second one is on the line right here, right now. Even though Oregon State cannot go to the Pac-12 championship, they can create some chaos. What an Oregon State win would mean is that Oregon would need Arizona to lose in the Territorial Cup against Arizona State. And then also, in addition, they'll need a little bit up. Oregon would definitely be out of that Big 12 championship. Or not the Big 12. Oh my goodness. I'm starting to fall apart here, boys. They would be out of the college football playoff as well. And it would not be a more sweeter story. Maybe a little bit of karma thrown in there as well. Imagine if Oregon State pulls this upset off, keeps Oregon out of the college football playoff, and just takes out the pain that they're feeling. A program that feels like they're being left behind in modern college football because of the realignment. Now, looking at the game itself, what are the big keys of this particular game? I mean, it has to start with what we got going on. Bo Nix. We got to talk Bo Nix. He's up there with that Jaden Daniels, with Michael Penix Jr. in terms of that Heisman voting. This is one of the best players, or at least the best quarterbacks in the country. And he's been electric this year. 35 passing touchdowns so far this year. Also has a couple of rushing, or only has thrown 2 interceptions all season long. He has accounted for a total of 40 touchdowns. He has been a problem. So for Oregon State to win this game, how do they pull this off? I think it starts with, one, that front seven has to get home to Bo Nix. And they're going to have to employ a similar strategy in what they employed against Washington in their home matchup last weekend. Limit the time possession that Oregon has and just being more physical. Oregon State was more physical in their game last week against Washington. It didn't turn into a win, but 9 times out of 10, when you're a more physical team, you'll end up winning. Turnovers really killed them. And that leads to another point as well. You have to cut down on the costly mistakes. Oregon is certainly not a team where you could lose the turnover battle and still beat this team. Oregon is not going to beat Oregon. You have to go out and beat Oregon. So They got to do a better job with the miscues, because the miscues were the tilting issue, the botch punt, the turnovers in their own territory, like things like that. And also, if Bo Nix is allowed to cook, it's going to be barbecue chicken before it even starts. But speaking to that physicality, Oregon can be physical as well. They can be a more physical team. Is it Dame time? And I'm not talking about Damian Lillard. I'm talking about Damian Martinez, who has kept piling up the yards. He's really having a repeat of his true freshman camp. Actually, he is built off his true freshman campaign, a year in which he was able to go out and win the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. Remember that? Most of you probably don't know that because you're probably not from the West Coast. Pepper Ridge Farmer numbers. But Martinez has built upon his freshman year. He's currently second in the Pac-12 right now with an average of over 100 yards a game. He's had 6 games with 100 plus yards rushing. That includes his last 3. He is a Doak Walker finalist. He's the only Pac-12 player, in fact, I can say that, and that Doak Walker award is for the nation's top running back. Damian Martinez needs to have a big game. If you get into, so to recap, you get into a shootout with Oregon, it's not looking good. If you turn the ball over more times than Oregon, it's not looking good for you. If you can't get it going on the ground, if Damian Martinez is bottled up, then we're going to have a problem here as well. Last 3 games in which he got over 100 yards, they've been 2-1. That only loss being that surprise against Washington. So take a quick look at what we have in terms of the model. And right now, the model, so Vegas right now, according to ESPN Bet, has it like around 2 touchdowns, give or take, right? The model agrees. The model is leaning towards Oregon to win and Oregon to also cover. Now, Oregon has been a team that prides itself off of its physical toughness. Dan Lanning is trying to build a team that's kind of in that same kind of format as like an SEC defense. I think Oregon State is ultimately going to be overwhelmed. I want Oregon State to win. I want this for the Oregon State Beavers because they were screwed over so mightily in the most recent round of college football realignment. I want this so bad for the Beavers. So my heart says Oregon State wins outright. But what my brain says, and this is with them going to Autzen Stadium in Eugene. Been there over the summer. That's a really nice football stadium, by the way. I think Oregon wins. And I also think that Oregon is going to cover. I am going to agree with the model on that particular aspect. But we wish nothing but the best for Oregon State. We're going to root for them. We're not going to even hide that bias there. But if I wanted to bet on this game, personally, I would pick Oregon to cover. But hey, maybe we could do like a self jinx there, and we can cheer on an Oregon State upset as well.